Hello, welcome to Our Time. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic condition that affects a protein in the body. People who have cystic fibrosis have a faulty protein that affects the body's cells, its tissues, and the glands that make mucus and sweat. Normal mucus is slippery and protects the airways, digestive tract, and other organs and tissues. Cystic fibrosis causes mucus to become thick and sticky. As mucus builds up, it can cause blockages, damage, or infections in affected organs. It all sounds very gross, Daniel McCauley.
Yeah, hearing like that's not as glamorous as I feel like it is.
Yes, it's not, is it?
No.
So, were you born with cystic fibrosis?
I was. So it's a condition that you're born with. You have to have to have it. You have to have carriers from both parents. I wasn't diagnosed at birth. I was about 9 months old when I was diagnosed.
And what did they pick up?
I had a lot of that failure to thrive, so I was quite sick for the first 9 months.
Oh, actually, that's an expression I've not heard before, but that's really
that was
really meaningful, isn't it? Failure to thrive.
Yeah, so I was quite unwell for the first 9 months, and it took quite a lot of doctor and hospital visits for my family to try to work out what was wrong. And funnily enough, it was a comment my grandma made was when the penny dropped for the doctors. Grandma used to call me her little potato crisp because I was always so salty. And that's because of all the sweat gland stuff. And they realised when one of my parents made that comment at the doctors, it was like, aha, let's look for CF.
What it is.
That's how I was diagnosed.
Well, you've got a really fascinating story to tell, but before we tell that story, we think about somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago, we made this documentary about you.
Oh, wow.
This was in your house, you getting up in the morning. Hand over your mouth when you yawn. Didn't your mother teach you? And the first thing you had to do, as you're saying,
no matter where I am, is use the nebulizer, which turns the drug Pulmazine into a mist that I inhale, which breaks up the mucus in my lungs. This usually takes an average of 7 minutes every morning. While I'm doing that, Mum gets the rest of my drugs ready.
where would we be without Mum?
Oh, I'd be nowhere without both my parents. I'm very lucky.
Now, you have a port in your tummy, don't you?
I used to, yeah. I'm fortunate that I no longer use it as much as I was when I was younger, and actually had it removed at the end of last year. So now when I have IVs, it's done the old-fashioned way through the drip in the arm. No longer need to have the port in my chest anymore.
How did all this affect your school?
Schooling was tricky from the sense of keeping up because I was missing a lot of school. In year 12, I did 7 hospital admissions, each between 2 and 3 weeks. But I was very fortunate that my parents worked really hard to get me out to my own school as often as possible, and my school was fantastic as well. And my friends, I was very lucky that I had and still do have very supportive friends that made sure I didn't miss out on any of the work at school, but more importantly, any of the social stuff as well.
Well, on the doco, we can hear you talking about this, but to have to do this every morning, and it looked like even before the sun was up. Yeah,
it was early morning, so every day would have multiple nebulizers, some physiotherapy. When I was on IVs, it was also setting that up, and that's one of the physios coming to give me some physiotherapy.
That Kirsty's doing, he used to call them thumps, and he'd say, "Oh, come on, well, let's have a thumping." And we went somewhere. I think it was school when he first started school, and the teachers were talking to him and said, "Well, what have you been doing today? You're late." And he said, "Well, after Mum gave me my thumping," and this person looked absolutely horrified. I had to quickly race in and say, "Actually, it's not thumping; it's just chest physio. We just do pats." But he calls.
I love that bit with your mum explaining that. Did all of that hurt?
No.
Well done.
Yay. Alright, so I'll see you. Finally, it's time for breakfast.
Oh, the heart is breaking from...
Singing in the shower. Love it.
Although I missed quite a few lessons, my teachers have been terrific helping me catch up. So are my friends, who have been really great.
This was Adam Schmerl who was asking you about the medication.
cystic fibrosis?
Well, a thick and sticky mucus builds up inside my lungs, blocking up the airways, making it easy for germs and bacteria to infect. The alveoles, which look like the tops of trees, can be blocked with mucus really easily, and the bronchial tubes, which look like tree trunks, get blocked too. That's why I need the physio and the nebulizer. But I'm kind of used to it by now.
You take a lot of pills, don't you? How many do you take?
About 40?
That's a lot of pills. What are they?
Well, at breakfast I have 10 Creon, my salt tablet, my Acimax, 2 Vita Abdex, my 3 Ursos, and my antibiotic. Then at lunchtime I have another 10 Creon, and at tea have another 10 Creon, and I also have 3 more Ursos, an Acimax and an antibiotic.
Pretty amazing that.
Yeah.
We're talking before, just fascinating seeing Adam again talking about the amount of pills that you used to have to take every day.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have needed food, there was so much in those.
I'm fortunate that the medical advancements have come along a fair bit, so I don't need as many tablets anymore. They've been able to condense a lot more of them, so probably on about half what I was back then.
Well, things must be good for you because you look healthy.
Yeah, things.
Not that you ever
very
didn't.
well. No.
But you were at that same time, you were doing dance classes every week, acting classes, singing. You were involved in everything, but you were really a sick kid.
Yeah, there was times where I was quite unwell, but I still always managed to look pretty healthy, which was good. But
and you also managed to always turn up to classes and things as well.
Well, didn't want to be the one that didn't know what they were doing in the routine.
What a way to look at life, though, really.
Yeah.
When you discovered what was wrong with you, how did that affect you mentally?
Well, I guess for me, it was my normal. I grew up, I said I was diagnosed at 9 months old, so for me, it was just always my day-to-day life was having medication, was having physiotherapy, was being unwell at times, and that was normal. And as I said, I was very fortunate that my whole family and I guess my friends and my community was very supportive.
In fact, your community is still very close to most of the people that you did go through the schools with.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've still got some of my best friends from high school, from primary school, and from my dance school, so very lucky.
And I've heard that you often get together to watch the old videotapes.
Yeah, there's a group. There's a little group of us that we do like to get together and critique our old performances. It's it's funny what you pick up 10 years later.
But when your child is born with something like this as a parent, it must be sort of overwhelming to think, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to... What other help did you get, like with your parents? Were there sort of social workers involved, or...?
Not really, no. There were some through the hospital. I guess I know Mum and Dad obviously would have struggled at times, but I think, again, they're both their sets of parents, and my aunties, my uncles, and everyone chipped in, and it was a real village that helped support me to
the way
when
it's
I was in
supposed to be,
hospital.
really.
Yeah, and I was just very fortunate that I had that.
And you used to have that expression too, that you're in hospital. You weren't physically sometimes in hospital, sometimes you weren't, but you still called it in hospital.
Yeah, so that would be when I'd have my usually 2 to 3 weeks of the intravenous antibiotics. And so for some people, they did have to stay in the hospital. I was lucky that my parents were able to do a lot of IVs at home. Not everyone that I grew up with hospital.
IV meaning intravenous.
Yeah. So they were able to do that. And again, with my parents' work schedules, they were able to have a bit more flexibility than some were. So I was very fortunate
Did
they
your
could
friends
do that.
at school see you as unusual, or how did they react?
Probably, and for a number of reasons. No, I think a lot of it was just, that's just Daniel, that's just the way he is. And, all throughout year 12, when we were getting together for study groups, I had friends coming to visit me in hospital, we'd study at hospital, and, that was just because that's where I needed to be, so they just make sure that's what they did. So
you've always been, because I've known you since you were a child.
Yeah.
You've been the most positive kid about everything that I think I've ever met, and that really leads us to the next part of the chat that we're having, as to what you've actually done with yourself as you've grown up and what you've developed. And we're going to be back in just a moment to talk about that. Daniel McCauley is our guest in this episode of Our Time. Daniel, you've got cystic fibrosis.
Yep.
You've always had it, right from birth.
Yep.
You've been very positive about your life generally, but because I'm sure you would have read and been told that the life expectancy with people with CF is shortened.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think growing up, it was always, I guess, a bit of a reality that, I'm probably unlikely to live a super long life. But I guess as I've got older, I've almost learned to appreciate that in the sense that I just live life to the fullest. I sort of do what I want to do. It doesn't hold me back from doing anything. It can be almost freeing, thinking, yep, well, this is what I want to do. I've never stayed in a job I haven't wanted to have. I'm fortunate I love my job. I've never, been in a situation where I think, I don't want to do this, but I push through because I think, no, life's too short. Just, do what you want to do. I've been fortunate to travel around the world and see some pretty amazing things. So yeah, I think it can in some ways be freeing in that way.
Well, none of us know.
No,
how long
that's
we'll
the
live,
thing. No, exactly.
And it's true. If you don't enjoy every day, you're not living your life.
Yeah.
Good advice. But you've done something brilliant, I do believe. And what's that? He said.
Yeah.
Well, you trained to be a teacher.
Yeah, so I always sort of knew growing up that I wanted to probably end up in education. I wasn't really sure exactly what, but I sort of always knew that would be a path I would like. After school, after year 12, I was a bit burnt out from, studying while also doing so many hospital admissions, that I sort of just did a few little odd jobs here and there, just while I sort of found what I wanted to do, because I certainly didn't want to go to uni after year 12. I definitely needed a break from study. And I ended up falling into doing SSO work, which is in a special school, and absolutely loved it.
Explain SSO.
So it's Student Support Officer, so supporting the students to engage with the learning program. And I was very fortunate that I just loved it, absolutely really enjoyed it. So I decided this is, I think, what I want to do. So I was an SSO for nearly 10 years. And then towards the end of that was when I thought, no, I'm ready to go to uni now. I sort of feel like I was mature enough and had enough of a break from study. So yeah, went to uni, did my Bachelor of Early Childhood Education. And I've been teaching in special ed.
Specialising in...
Not initially, no. I originally did the mainstream degree in early childhood, even though I was working in special ed. And then I've been teaching in special ed ever since now 2018. I did go back and do postgraduate studies in special education because I just felt like I wanted that piece of paper that said special ed. And then a few years ago, went and did my lead teacher certification. So now I'm a coordinator at one of the state's big special schools, as well as teaching still as well. So I love it.
What gives you that satisfaction at the end of the day?
I think I've been very fortunate with the few schools I've been at to work with really amazing, passionate team. All of us want the best for our students. We want our students to have, high rigour in their learning, with their curriculum, but also we want our kids to be happy. All children need joy in their lives. So,
as did you.
Exactly, yeah, as did I. So I think making sure that school is an enjoyable place and a physically and emotionally safe place for all of our students, while also being a place of really good learning for our students.
Are you ever challenged physically with the students, or has your body sort of come to terms with having cystic fibrosis?
Yeah, it's a hard comparison to make because I know when I get out of breath, I know when I get if I'm tired. And then sometimes I think, is everyone tired like this, or is this just
It's a good point.
This is just my lungs only work at about 65% at the best. So is that, or is that just, end of term, we're all exhausted?
Well, that's true, but that's also growing older too. You question, is it just because of my age, or is it because I'm actually tired?
Yeah. So
we're allowed to get tired.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's a bit hard to know sometimes how much my, the CF impacts that or not. I'm just lucky that it hasn't impacted enough that I haven't been able to work.
Is that because the treatment you had earlier sort of improved your body's ability?
I think it's probably a few factors in that just the medication has got a lot better. There's been a lot of research over the last 20 years into CF and making sure that we've got medication.
Because there's no understanding as to why, apart from it's the chromosome with parents or something, isn't it?
Yeah, so to have the CF, you've got a carrier from both parents.
Right. But they don't have it.
No, they don't have it. No, so they didn't know that they were carriers.
Need to speak to them severely. turn back time.
Yeah, exactly. So
But
yeah,
then
so
you
I
wouldn't have
think-
been here. You wouldn't have been able to share these stories.
No, and I'm lucky that despite the CF and the CF related diabetes, which has come on from that as well.
Oh,
I
I didn't
haven't.
know about that. Tell me
Yeah, so
about that.
I've got CF related diabetes. There's more and more of us, I guess, from my generation of people with CF have developed CF related diabetes.
And what do you have to do with that?
So insulin. So I take insulin injections daily.
With the little pen
Yeah.
in your tummy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that hurt, or are you just so used to?
Just used to it now. There's times you can get a bit over it, but as a whole, again, it's
Like cleaning your teeth?
yeah, it's just part of your routine. I don't really think about it much.
Has that changed, like everything, has that changed the way you really perceive the world? Did you ever get to the point of thinking, why bother?
No, I think it very easily could have gone down that road. Anyone that faced some adversity could. I just had too much good stuff.
Because of
in my life.
the village around
Yeah,
you?
the village
more
and
or less?
my school and my dance, and I just had a lot of good things going on. That for me it was more that right, I've got to stay on top of medication because I want to be healthy. There was too much good stuff going on, and there still is.
So really what you're saying is it's really about positive thinking as well.
Yeah, it does make a
Understanding
big
your body
difference.
and
Yeah.
working towards keeping it as healthy as you can.
Yeah.
Is that what you can pass on to the kids that you're overseeing and teaching?
Yeah, just take every opportunity you can and just enjoy it.
Do they feel depressed? Are they aware of not being sort of average, if average is the right term to use?
Yeah, I guess some of them would be aware that they may be different from some of their mainstream peers. But again, I guess that's where our focus is, just about making sure our kids have great opportunities, great education, and that they know that they're valued for who they are.
So you must become attached to the kids, and then you sort of lose them, I guess, as they move
as they
through their
graduate,
education.
yeah.
Have you had the opportunity to sort of keep up with any after the event?
No,
Because of
we
what you were
just-
doing before?
Yeah, no, I just think we've got them for a short time at school, or
Yeah.
where I was previously at a preschool. We give them the best education that we can, and then we send them off to the world. So,
Yes, it's a shame though that you can't sort of track, to know what,
Yeah.
how well they do, and use the knowledge of how they started to where they ended up, sort of
so
thing.
at my school, so I've been at the current school I'm at for 2 years now, and some of the year 12s I worked with previously while they were in preschool. So it's been,
Well, that's what I mean.
It's certainly made me feel like, I've been in the game a while now. I'm getting a bit older.
Yeah.
Some of the preschoolers I was working with are now about to graduate. So, and seeing the growth that they've made has been, it's a real privilege to have played even just a small part in their journey.
Well, same between you and I,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
To have watched you grow up, to understand what your issues were, to have been able to make a doco on you, and now to and I've seen you obviously over the years since then, and just to see how well you've done. I mean, it really is a compliment to you as well to have the tenacity.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, so I think it's a reflection on those around me, and certainly dancing at Mighty Good was a big part of that. So yeah.
So advice here. This is the time to advise. So a young family has a child, and that's diagnosed with this. How should they look? How should they cope with that? Do you think?
Just stick together as a unit and just do the best you can, really. I think just having that positive attitude, looking at what you can do, with the realms of what you can do, and just making sure just a bit of forward thinking sometimes can make a bit of a difference. So when it was like coming to dance, okay, how are we going to schedule my medication times around when the classes were? So just that little bit of forward thinking can.
Yes, I remember you having to go upstairs and plug in.
And that can make such a difference. The difference between skipping a lesson or being able to go. And that's so good for your mental health.
In other words, to make it work, whatever it took, make it work.
Yeah, exactly, make it work.
But I love the story Mum told in the clip about having a thumping.
Yeah.
Because telling that sort of story these days to people who didn't understand the police would be knocking on the front door.
Yeah.
Was that something that was just like a family joke, or did anything ever happen because of that?
No, it was just I know one of my either reception or year one teachers spoke to my to my mum about that because I'd mentioned getting my thumping at home, but that was just what we called it because it looked like it, the physiotherapy certainly looks like a bit of a thumping, and it was a bit of a family joke. But yeah, just remembering to be careful that not everyone's always in on those jokes, and if you say something like that, it's...
Well, isn't that the truth? Every family does have sort of, in jokes and things that happen. When you hear it outside of the family environment, it's completely different. The meaning's completely different. No, it's just been a delight to watch you grow up and to know what's happened to you, but in every sense here, Okay, so just getting back to your career and the future for you, is this something you want to develop further, or are you in a place now that is totally satisfying, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very satisfied in the sense that I love my job. I love where I'm at. The team I work with are sensational. Down the track, and still long way down the track, I'd like to go for principal of a special school one day. So I'm coordinator at the moment, which is sort of like an entry-level leadership role. But yeah, down the track, deputy and principal. But that's still a long way down the track.
But having CF, has that, and going into the area that you've gone into, do you think it's made you a lot more understanding with the kids?
I think so. I think it does give you a different perspective, and that
because you're used to medical intervention with you.
And doing like a lot of our kids do regular therapy, and some of them do have medication as well regularly. I think I do have a bit of, I guess, that empathy in that, and that level of, okay, this is the accommodations we need to make, but also this is reality. So this is life. Let's keep going with it and
keep going. Yeah. Speaking of keeping going, we just have to stop for a minute. And we'll be back after this short break. Welcome back. I was just saying to Daniel McCauley, is there anything we haven't talked about? We haven't talked about your travel.
Yeah, so I was fortunate that I've done a fair bit of travel. When I was 21, I backpacked around Europe for 3 months. But that just required a lot of extra planning because I ended up having to take a second luggage just for medication. So I ended up having a 7-kilo bag just of medication to get me through backpacking.
And did that get you through wherever you went, or did you have to top up?
No, that was everything I needed. So that was taking nebulizers and insulin and tablets and letters from the doctors to show wherever I went that, this is what I'm supposed to have. And
yes, you'd need to get all that through customs. Of course. You see, they're the things that we don't think about, things like that.
No.
But also, I was asking you about friendships with other people with the same thing. And as you were saying, your parents looked after you so well.
Yes, I was fortunate in the sense that because with my parents' work, they were able to take me out of the hospital a fair bit to take me to my own school, and we lived quite close to the hospital, so I was able to go home sometimes in the evening before having to go back to stay over there. They probably didn't know as many people with CF as some of the other members of the community, but yeah, certainly made lots of friends along the way, and unfortunately some are no longer with us. But it's not just the people with CF, but also the nurses and the doctors, and some of them are still in touch with from when I was younger. That they played a big part in my life as well. I remember when I was got my Year 12 results, was at the nurses station on the adolescent ward because I was in hospital when the results came out, and sharing that with the nurses felt like I was sharing it with family because I'd been in there so much with them. So yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah.
See, these are the things we don't know about what nursing staff go through.
No.
It's the personal things, the people that they become so associated with like this.
Yeah, and they were amazing. Very fortunate. And the ones at the RA now, we've got a really great group looking after us. Yeah.
The good thing is, though, that you don't have to carry all that stuff to the same degree you used to.
No.
And medication and the development of treatments and stuff has improved incredibly.
Yeah, which is fantastic. We're really lucky that the money's going into CF.
Has there been one thing that really changed you or changed for you?
Probably,
medication-wise?
There was a medication that came out.
Getting the port out, I imagine.
That was nice. It's nice not having that in there anymore. That was big. To get to a point where I didn't need that felt pretty special when the doctors brought that up last year, that I'm not having IVs as often as I was, so probably don't need it. That one was about 10 years old and was looking to need to be replaced. So when it got to a point, they said, actually, we don't think we'll replace it. That was just, 15 years ago, that was inconceivable for me to not have that.
It's an amazing story, Daniel. Thank you for sharing it with us all.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's always that thing of, in the worst adversity, you can often find some joy.
Yeah.
and you've been a joy.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much for watching. If anybody has had an issue like Daniel's had, hopefully this has given you a lot of courage for the future. So until next time on Our Time, keep yourself nice till then. Bye.